I want to tell you about a girl named Zero Sum. That is her actual name. Her parents were game theorists. A zero sum situation is one where whatever one player gains, another must lose. The total always balances to zero. Her parents thought this was funny. Her teachers over the years had mixed feelings. Zero arrives at Whitmore College on an October morning, an October so vivid it seems painted. The maples on the quad blazing a red so saturated it almost hurts to look at directly. The beach is gone, a pale luminous gold that catches the afternoon light and seems to generate it rather than merely reflect it. She is late, which she is beginning to understand is simply her natural relationship with time. She is looking for her ancient history class. She pushes open the door to room 14 of Whitmore Hall and stops. The room is not a lecture hall, it is a laboratory. And at the center of the laboratory, where a podium might reasonably have stood, sits a machine unlike anything she has ever seen. A large glass cabinet, its glass green tinted and thick, the kind that makes the world beyond it look as though it exists at the bottom of a shallow sea. Inside, a spiral of crystal discs on vertical axes, each rotating at a slightly different speed, their edges fracturing light into colors that move across the ceiling like slow, patient ghosts. At the base, copper coils wound with mathematical precision, a clock face bearing symbols that are not numbers, not letters, not any alphabet Zero has ever seen. The machine hums, not loudly, not the hum of industrial equipment, something older than that, something she feels in her chest rather than hears with her ears. And behind the machine stands a very old man with white hair that has clearly stopped taking instructions, pale blue eyes, the color of sky at high altitude, and a tweed jacket of considerable antiquity. On his shoulder sits a tabby cat. The cat is watching Zero with the focused, professional calm of someone who has been expecting her. The professor's name is Thumb, and he has been waiting for her. He has a problem, he says, that only she can solve. Zero has been on campus for 3 days. She does not feel equipped for problem solving yet. She is wrong about this. What follows, in the pages of my novel Fresh Zero Sum on Campus, is the strangest, funniest, most genuinely moving story I have ever told. It is a story about a freshman girl who accidentally falls inside a machine called the Spiral Genetic Enhancer, about a boy named Brad who drops a very large textbook on her head in the campus bookstore and somehow makes her laugh on the floor, about a roommate named Nancy who wakes up one morning surrounded by scattered carrots and a rapidly receding memory of the night before, about an enormous squirrel that smiles at her from 20 feet up in a campus oak tree, about a frog with golden eyes who holds her hand. It is also a story about the oldest question in human civilization. Where did we come from? Why did knowledge arrive so suddenly? 6,000 years ago in ancient Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and the Euphrates, writing, law, mathematics, astronomy, architecture, all at once, as though a switch had been thrown. The Sumerians themselves had an answer. They wrote it down on clay tablets that have survived 6,000 years to tell us. They called the ones who came from above the Anunnaki, those who came from the stars to earth, and they recorded their purpose, not conquest, not exploitation, but introduction. The first steps of a very long process of bringing one isolated species, our species, remarkable and strange and full of extraordinary potential, into a larger community. What if that process was still underway? What if the machine in Professor Thumb's laboratory was not a curiosity, but a technology so far beyond what we have built that its clock face doesn't use numbers we recognize, because it is not measuring time as we understand it, but something considerably older? And what if some of the students sitting in the advanced genetics lab at Whitmore College carried, in their own biology, the first inheritance of that ancient introduction? The machine, Professor Thumb's spiral genetic enhancer, does something that has no precedent in any laboratory on this earth. It removes the RNA blockages that prevent cross-species genetic expression. In plain English, it lets you become something else. A mouse for an evening, a frog for a night in the campus arboretum under a full moon, an owl taking flight from the aviary roof on a tawny wingspan of extraordinary span, going wherever owls go in the dark above the campus and the blazing October trees, for 12 to 24 hours. Then you come back, but you come back different, not visibly different, not in any way that Miss Watcher, the dormitory mother, would notice, different in the way that matters more. You come back knowing what it feels like to live in a body built for something other than speech, what it feels like to navigate by smell, by sound, by frequencies the human nervous system registers but does not understand, what it feels like to simply know what another creature is feeling, not because they told you, because they couldn't, but because at the level below language you are speaking the same tongue. Animals are telepathic. This is Dr. Geshal's most important sentence, delivered to a completely silent ancient history class by a being who is humanoid, warmly attentive, and a luminous blue-green, the color of the sea over a reef in deep tropical water, something that generates light rather than absorbs it. From his temples, two antennae rise with the organic elegance of things that have grown exactly where they belong. He speaks with the patience of someone delivering information that has waited a very long time to be heard. Your pets know what you feel before you say it, he tells them. Every animal on this planet is in direct communication with every other. The blockage is specific to your species, and it is not permanent, because speech, used as it has been used, keeps us from something larger, not forever, not necessarily, but now, at this moment, when everything is at a threshold, the choice matters more than it ever has. Zero Sum is not a passive character. She is the kind of person who picks a lock in under 30 seconds on the grounds that skills, once acquired, should be maintained. She is the kind of person who, upon realizing that a machine is running unsupervised and turning the entire freshman class into animals, removes a crystal from its mounting frame, disconnects the copper coil assemblies, studies the clock face symbols, and puts a chain on it. She is also the kind of person who falls asleep in a campus arboretum at midnight, with her head tipped back against a stone fountain and a very large frog warm against her shoulder. She is the kind of person who, when the entire situation is finally explained to her in a planetarium full of owls and ravens and rabbits and a sheep taking notes on a clipboard, while the star show projects the constellation Cygnus overhead in 3 dimensions, the blue-green world at its heart, more beautiful than anything she has been told to expect from the universe, stands up and accepts the invitation on one condition. I am Brad's animal, she says, and the room, the owls and the ravens and the rabbit and the sheep and the beings from further away than she yet has names for, makes a sound that is not precisely laughter and not precisely music, but contains the best of both. I wrote this book because I believe in first year. Not the academic first year, though the academic first year at Whitmore is extraordinary, presided over by a Professor Holmes who teaches ancient Mesopotamia as though it were last week's news. But the first year of understanding that the world is larger than you were told, that the maps handed to you in childhood were drawn by people who had not yet been to the edges, that the conversation you have been having with your species, with your planet, with the creatures you share it with, has been happening in one room of a very large building with the windows closed, not because the other rooms were locked, but because no one had tried the door. Zero Sum tries the door. She falls inside a machine. She wakes on a rooftop with mud on her shoes and the ghost of a memory she cannot quite hold. She meets a boy with star charts on his walls from a sky she doesn't recognize. She finds, at the end of an October more beautiful than any she has ever seen, that the world has always been speaking to her. She simply needed a new vocabulary to hear it. Fresh. Zero Sum on campus is available now. The link is in the description. If you have ever been a freshman, in any sense of the word, I think you will recognize something in Zero's October.